All right, everybody, here's the full-length interview between me and Omari from OmariMC.com and SocialTokenNews.io. This is what record labels don't want you to know. And if you feel the need to reach out to me for more information, you can do so down below in the description or at MusicMoneyMakeover.com, or download any of the free stuff or paid stuff that I have below. So here we go. Check it out.
My guest today is Casey Graham of the Music Money Makeover Show. He's a multi-platinum Grammy award-winning engineer/producer with 20 plus years of industry experience. He's developed a growth marketing system for career-ready artists, producers, record labels, managers, a bunch of people in the music industry to build a structure for themselves to receive income hand over fist. So he goes into all the nitty-gritty details of not leaving money on the table for artists and people in the music industry. He's grown his YouTube channel to over 63,000 subscribers and counting by the day. So Casey, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely, we appreciate you being here. All right, so we got a lot to talk about today. Going through your channel, you talk, like I said, a lot about artists not leaving money on the table. You go into how the current record label structure and publishing and all that set up. Copyrights, royalties, all that. We'll also touch on the future of the music industry, where you see it going, where I see it going, where there's synergy there. And we'll also just talk about some specific platforms that might be leading the way, how this technology will integrate with the music industry, and a lot more. So you guys stay tuned throughout the whole interview. This will be jam-packed with information for you. But I wanted to start with you talk about the structuring of music companies, and you have a bunch of consultations with artists at your website, Music Money Makeover, and you jump into the most common mistakes, or like how you see artists setting up the wrong way, and what's the right way to get the label going, or how to start a music career from the ground up.
Got you. Well, many artists, they don't really understand what they're selling. Like, they know they make music, they know it streams, but they don't know exactly what it is. And a lot of times this starts with the copyright. Well, not a lot. It actually starts with the copyright. It is the asset that they own, but they don't exactly tell people that they own it because they don't register it, right? And so if you're starting with that, if you're selling this asset, this intellectual property asset called the copyright, well, who should own it? That's going to be the bottom line question right there. Because many times, collaborators, they start with the producer and the writer, or the artist, or both, and they put it out and they split it 50-50. Okay, cool. But what we have is a side hustle, right? We got a side hustle right now, and we got to form this thing. And usually what you normally see happen before they want to come back and structure their businesses is something goes viral, and then a deal is put in place, whether it be small or large. And then from there, you normally have the artist signing themselves directly to the label instead of actually doing it as an organized structure as a company, right? So in order to protect those assets, I tell artists all the time, you got to start that LLC first. This is no different if I was starting a cookie business. Mm-hmm. What we're selling and what we're licensing is the copyright. That's why we get those 6 licenses, those 6 rights with every copyright, whether it be the musical work or whether it be the sound recording. The first 2 things we're selling. And then, there's others like your artwork and all this type of stuff we can go into. But once we decide, okay, we're going to build this thing, who's going to be in the company? And usually it's just going to be that artist, right? All of this is education that I find that a lot of artists don't understand, whether they lease beats, whether they purchase beats. When they go into the studio and pay for the studio time, they don't understand what they're actually paying for. And that's what I break down on my show. That's what I break down when artists call me, or it could be producers, artists, managers. I mean, you name it. I've had some really big people call me out of the blue, some legacy legendary people call me still needing help with this. And I see that this is a problem. So what I decided to do was go back to the source and figure out what the issue was. And it was simply that artists did not truly know what they were actually selling and how to sell it.
So, all right. So starting the LLC, I'm a brand new artist, I start my LLC, which is a limited liability company, meaning that if somebody wants to sue your company, they're just going after the assets of the company and not after any of your personal assets.
Correct.
All right. So now I have my LLC set up. I went and did my paperwork at a government office, and I need to do something with these copyrights.
Right.
What do I do next?
That's a good question. Many people don't know what to do with that. All right. So we got the LLC. But once you have that LLC, which must be done first, when you go and register for your copyrights, the copyright is now owned by your LLC. So you can put your name in as the author. Sure, you can. But when it comes to who's the claimant of the copyrighted work, right, that belongs to the company. You want that to belong to the company just for, let's say you have a song that goes viral and it is not attached to you, but the company owns that, right? But you sampled something in there. And I'm speaking from experience because I did this. You know what I mean? And luckily I didn't get sued, but they took my money. So, you want the LLC to own that copyright. Whether you sample, whether you did an interpolation, whatever, or if someone, let's say you do something, you're a rowdy type of artist, right? And you do something crazy in the club personally to somebody, you don't want those assets, those copyrights to get mangled in your legal matters. You know what I mean? You want to keep all that stuff separate. And that's what actually goes in that LLC. That's what we're using it for. And we can use it for a lot of different things. But to start with the music itself, we're starting with the sound recording and the musical work. And the LLC will own that. Therefore, we stash it inside the LLC. All right.
So we got the LLC. Am I going down to a government office to do these copyrights? Am I going to a website to do these copyrights? Where am I going?
Well, I mean, this is what I recommend. I'm a Frank Lucas type of guy. Like I like to go direct. So most of this will be done at your Secretary of State's office, wherever, and it's got to be done in the state that you reside in. I'm going to say that first before you get too advanced with foreign stuff. You know what I mean? Foreign LLCs here and there. I wouldn't recommend that for any artist when they're just getting started. Do it in the state where you live in, right? Go down there and register. If you don't trust yourself to do it right, you can always use like a Zen Business or a LegalZoom. You'll pay a little bit more, but at least you'll feel that you did it right. Either way, those are the two best ways you can do it, through a LegalZoom style website or at your state's Secretary of State office website.
So a lot of ours hearing this right now, this usually sounds like the artist has made a decision at this point. This is not just like I wanted to make 2 songs and see if I liked it. It's more of I made a decision that I'm going to pursue music as a path. At the very least, as a business. It might not even be your full-time business yet, but you're going to pursue it as a business.
Correct.
So this is more so for people who know music is something they want to do. They're now getting exposure to here's all the stuff I should have to do. So it's not like a fly-by-night sort of art. This is more of I'm serious. I'm setting up this stuff so that whenever something comes down the line, like you're saying, you went through something. That's why you have all this knowledge. So that when something comes down the line, you're protected. You're set up the right way. You can collect more of these royalties, which we'll go into next, on your business. So you break down a lot of leaving money on the table. So we already built the business. We got our business structure now. Now we need revenue for that business. Revenue comes from a lot of different places. So going into breaking down, leaving money on the table, where all this money comes from, how would you explain that to artists?
Yeah, well, first we got to go back to the copyright before we go into shows, merch, and all that extra. Those are ancillary income sources outside of the music, right? So when we look at those copyrights and we look at the ability to license those assets, that's where we're going to make the money. Like, this is where I learned, right? I was starting with the sync company, and I didn't know anything about publishing. But as I started rubbing shoulders with other publishers, I really saw like, oh, this is how you really make money with this. And it's not, most people, when they hear licensing and they're coming into the business, it's mainly from a beat leasing type of place, because that's going to be the first place you're going to hear about it. The second place you're going to hear about it is sync licensing, getting your stuff on television and film. But then what are those rights that come with that? You know what I mean? Or how do you exercise those rights? You know what I'm saying? So once you understand that this is where we're going to make money, we're making money on these 6 rights, the right to reproduce, the right to distribute, you know what I mean? Stuff like that, public display, the right to print, you know what I mean? Making money on those licenses. Now we know where we're going to execute this thing at. Now we know the type of royalties we're looking for, the right to public performance, which is BMI and ASCAP and CSAC, right? That's the first selection that many people make. But then what about the rest of those royalties that we leave on the table? Prime example, I was in Target, and I'm making a show about this. So if this comes out before this show comes out, whatever. I saw it's same time this week, rather. I saw a Diana Ross t-shirt in Target.
All right.
Right? And I said, oh, that's interesting. That's a dope t-shirt. And I get close and I say, oh, they put the music on the shirt.
Like lyrics?
No, they put the actual sheet music behind her picture on the shirt. So it was very clever because that publisher now gets paid. That's the right to print. That's public display. Now you have Diana Ross, her name and her picture. That's her brand. But I'm quite sure that they worked a deal with the publisher, and the publisher said, hey, why don't you put the sheet music behind there and we get a royalty off the sale? You're going into, 3,000 Targets across America. This would be great for us. And that's how you exercise your copyrights, right? I saw the same. I was in a random Goodwill the other day, but I saw a Janet Jackson Velvet Rope Tour t-shirt, right? Now I looked at it because it was printed on an Old Navy t-shirt. So obviously it was in Old Navy. And it was from 2 years ago because I'm looking for the dates. The record label had the titles of the song beneath her picture. Janet Jackson at the top, but her title was there. And also at the bottom was a barcode. And I'm like, what does this barcode go to? It goes back to the master recording, but this is public display. So even though the record company on the sound recording doesn't own the title to the song, the publisher does. Therefore, they can get a cut of that t-shirt sale. And then you sell it across, 3,000-4,000 Old Navy stores in America.
Man. So this is
business.
Yeah. This is really understanding the law more than anything.
Yeah.
And it's how do I use the law to my advantage? And whether or not somebody likes some of these laws, like how do I use it to my advantage while my impartation is while still staying ethical and moral. But yeah, like the stuff about, the sheet music being in the background, they probably made it like faded in the background or something like that.
It was crystal clear.
Oh,
it was crystal clear. Yeah.
I imagine it's not the most appealing t-shirt at that point, but somebody's getting paid.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got the application of all these different types of royalties at work now. This goes beyond just playing a song on Spotify and YouTube and getting paid for it. Now it's how do I incorporate this with my other products in my business? Or even any deals I do, like that's a deal with Target. Target is a distributor who have thousands and thousands of employees that are going to ensure, lawyers on staff, making sure essentially big companies will just hire lawyers to make sure they don't get sued, right? That's their entire deal. Making sure they look at the law and things like this so that the money goes to the right people, set it up in these contracts, which we'll get into more contracts later, but set it up in these contracts and everybody gets their respective piece under the law. But going back to, let's talk about the everyday indie artist, right? What exactly does that mean for them with these copyrights? How would they apply? Because most of them not getting a deal with Target, not getting a deal with Walmart, or so on and so forth. So how would they apply this?
I mean, well, the indie artist will apply this by owning it and keeping it, right? So let's say a lot of this I'm cross-paralleling with real estate, okay? Whether you have a real property or you have intellectual property, the average artist, let's say this is where they're going to make the bulk of their money. They're betting that something will have a great social life on social media. It will have a great run, or you get great playlisting on Spotify. right? Or Apple Music, so that it can have some type of life. All right. And the lottery ticket is either I get an offer on this for a deal, or if I do well with promotion through TikTok, Instagram, it has a retro viral season where someone says, I remember when that song came out, or someone does some type of comedy video and it just goes viral, right? That's what many artists are betting on outside of doing the active day-to-day, going to the shows, doing whatever they do to make the money. They're betting that they will have a lottery ticket at some point in this timeline. So that's what they're going to use those copyrights for. And it's owning it, because you want to own it. Because let's say if something does go viral, if something does get placed in television and film, right? But you maybe sold it in a quick deal. You don't have access to that. And it's 10 years later. Like you probably got a wife, children, you've left it alone, but somebody working at a sync company said, hey, this is perfect for what I need. I'm going to pay you $12,000. Do you still have the rights? No, I don't have the rights. You got to call such and such. So if you don't really know what to do with it as an indie artist, the best you can do is own it, or at least own a majority stake in it, like 51%.
All right. So normally they would sell their stake to
record labels.
Mm-hmm. But when they're doing this, you talked about displaying the sheet music or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's a part of these laws under the United States. In what way would somebody who's independent need to use those other royalties, like the more obscure ones? Mm-hmm. In what way would they need to use it? Like, what deal would they be setting up as an independent where they need to worry about that, besides just keeping the rights for themselves and making sure they don't sell them all off just in case something happens in the future? But what if they need to actually enact them?
If they need to, they're already activated once they're on Spotify, right? You have the public performance there. You've got, if you're on Sirius XM, or if you're on a webcast radio, a lower grade something, or Dash Radio or Music Choice, you're already enacting these laws each time you sign up. Most people don't know that because they're in the terms and conditions. You know what I mean? When you just click yes and you sign up, it's already there, right? So it's just when you want to get fancy with it, that's when you deep dive into it and explore those 6 rights. How can I possibly make money off of this? Some people are so good enough that they can just do a merch deal and it will supply the funding that it needs, they need for their entire operation, right? That's how they enact it. Let's say they want to take some of those rights and they want to do strictly an advertisement campaign. It's all, and I keep going back to print, but outside of getting your music played, on the streaming services, outside of getting it synced for television and film, that's the second way. That's the second, under the surface type of way to get the money. Then the next one is just the print. And then from there, you start to see where it unfolds. Like streaming your music on the airlines, when people plug the headphones into the seats and they're tapping. It's like, how many ways can we make money off this music? How many outlets can stream it at one given time? Where, if I'm in H&M, how do I get on Pandora for business, Spotify for business, Mood Media? You know what I mean? And that's really when it boils down to, okay, I am in tune with what I'm selling. I'm selling music in this business. And then that's usually when you're growing. And it happens for a lot of artists. Some artists, they're just right here. They're making maybe a little extra $1,000 a month on the side and they're cool. But those people are, on Spotify, Apple Music, and TikTok. And that's what they do. If they're going to apply it, it's just about knowing how to use it, right?
Yeah. So you talked about the Spotify for business, Pandora for business. Mm-hmm. Who am I signing? I'm an independent artist. Mm-hmm. Who am I signing up with that when H&M plays this in the mall, that I'm being paid from H&M playing it in the mall?
Right. So some of this, because I've done my own research, I'll go in the mall and say, hey, who's running your music? Starbucks. Oh, Spotify for business. Or I'll go into another place and it'll be, oh, we're using Pandora for Business. The Music Genome Project. When that launched, I guess maybe 10 years ago now, and they started using artificial intelligence to build these experiences for shoppers. That's where the music goes. Once you put it up on the sites, the artificial intelligence is already working it. Now, there are people that work there in those offices to craft playlists for people. Yes, sure. That's where you got to do your homework. That's where you got to, work your connections. And there are other companies, and I'll list some, like I said, Mood Media or In-Store Audio Network, where you can get your music. You can contact these people. They can work it in their playlist, right? But those days are slowly going away. So that's what I mean. When you distribute stuff on TuneCore, DistroKid, what's the new one? Sound On, I think, with TikTok and ByteDance.
I heard of Sound On.
That's going to be a killer when that comes out.
They should have been on that already.
Yeah.
But
they're slowly rolling it out. But it's all artificial intelligence now. So when artists think about working those rights, it's all about, and maybe this can roll into another question here, it's all about content production so that people can see what it is you do, and so they can identify, this is this person with this music. Whether it's showing your face, or there's certain artists who just don't want to be recognized for anything. They want to be behind the veil. However you do it, whatever is going to be done, it's going to be through content production, and these analytics and the artificial intelligence will find this music and it will start to bubble through, the different channels. So yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So breaking it down for a broad picture for artists, the reason sync licensing has a lot of money is because it's not. I look at a lot of these like funds, because they are funds. Mm-hmm. We have H&M, Starbucks, all of those who have a budget for this stuff. Mm-hmm. Spotify also has a budget. It's just more distributed. Like there's millions and millions of songs on Spotify, so their model for paying people is going to be different than the model that's set up with a more niche group of people. Mm-hmm. Here's this set playlist that we're going to be playing, or even we're recording this. Mm-hmm. Here's this set playlist, and here's our budget for this quarter, or however often they switch it out. Mm-hmm. And these people are going to be paid this set budget that we have allotted for this. So that's why they pay more. Learning. It's definitely good to go in. Like most people are not going to go read the terms and conditions, but there may be somebody who listens to this that will go do it. Right. But just for broad understanding for people, that's essentially what's happening. Yeah. You have different capital allocated to different things.
Correct.
And when you get up the capital chain, so to speak, there's going to be more allocated to you for a more desirable product. Anybody can go put their music on Spotify, but as far as somebody else wanting it to put into their stores, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the record label structure, like where do record labels come into this? What percentage do they take? Why do they take it? Obviously, somebody hearing all this might be like, well, like I'm not going to go read about all the 6 types of record labels. I'm not going to go read these terms and conditions. Isn't that what a label's supposed to do? Yes, but what do they take on the other end of that? How long do they take it for? You talk about this stuff on your channel a good bit, so I wanted to dive into what does the current record label structure mean for the average everyday indie artist right now?
It means that let me clarify this. When most people sign these record deals, right, I want you to understand, not based on the work that you already did. Of course, they're signing you based on that. But when they sign you, I just want to make it clear to artists, you're not going to own these masters. This thing about, I want my masters, I'm going to own it. Many artists don't think about what goes into the marketing and promotion, the production, right? And then on top of the marketing and promotion, what you don't realize is that when the label signs you in the first place, they weren't planning on giving you the masters anyway, because why? They paid for it.
Yeah.
Then there's the administration. So let's say you and I do a deal and you have a very successful career, right? You get up in age and you're in your 70s and, hey, you want to cash out. Normally there could be a situation where they say, hey, we'll give you your master's back, but we'll give you an extra 2-3 million if you allow us to keep it for another X amount of years. But in order for you to keep making money, you need somebody to keep the administration going. So you might have already paid all your stuff back. And remember, and this is my final point on this, when you sign the deal, you got to check your artist royalty. And in most cases, it's going to be 20%. In that 20%, that is not an ownership of anything. And they paid for everything. So when you hear that conversation about, hey, you know, I'm going to own my masters, how are you going to do that? And with what cut? And when do you plan on getting it back? And when you do, are you going to take care of everybody else? That, you know what I mean? That gets paid, the songwriters, the producers, the executive producers, maybe an A&R management that took some points. Are you going to handle the paperwork and administration and do all of that? I don't think so. The record label is going to do that, right? So our typical deal is going to be 80-20 in this, right? And that's what many artists have to look at. And it can be a great thing for you because on the flip side, what you have is you got attention. You earn a lot of attention. You can earn as many emails and phone numbers as you want to. And you take that with you. That's the power that you take. They take the masters, but you take the attention. As long as you know how to use that, then it's going to be a win-win for everybody. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I think I went on a tangent. I didn't really answer the question, but
that answered it in a way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the record label is it's a hedge fund. I've made that analogy before on this channel, but they take resources and they're the ones with the marketing and they're the ones with the relationships and they're the ones with the lawyers and they're the ones with this and that. Mm-hmm. Whereas you would have had to go do that yourself.
Correct.
In the big bad world that is out there. So if you go look at it in terms of, you know, investing or something like that, most people are not picking their individual investments. They usually have a fund, whether that's your retirement fund, whether that's, you know, an ETF, whether that's, you know, this and that. You can do all that and you can make more money and you can keep that money. Mm-hmm. It's just the upfront cost. Right. Are you willing to pay the upfront cost to do all this? Mm-hmm. Most people, that's a no. And for a lot of people, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Mm-hmm. Like it's not like this person can do this, this one can't. Everybody has different gifts, right? Mm-hmm. Like you clearly have a natural inclination to go look at some of this stuff more than other people. I have a natural inclination to go look at some of this stuff more than other people. Mm-hmm. Whenever you play to your strengths, like somebody's great strength may just be knocking out song after song after song after song after song. Mm-hmm. And then when they get to the marketing, they really don't know.
Right. And that's when a publishing deal would kick in for that writer who, if they can write, you know, that many records, publishing deal may be good for you.
Yep.
You may do very well with that. Same thing with the record label. You may do very well with fulfilling your obligations. It just depends. And then, I mean, I want to jump on Ryan Leslie a little bit. Let's say you do a record deal and the advance was $2 million. Do you want the $2 million now, or do you want to put in the work and then, you know, get it over time? Maybe you get 200,000, 300,000. We're talking about music now. We're not talking about touring. We're just talking about music. Maybe your music does, you know, a gross revenue of 200,000 a year. You're doing really, really, really well. Do you want it now or do you want it later? It's a different type of person. You know what I mean? And certain people at your rate of growth, you require investment depending on your rate of growth. You understand this. So I'm just, you know, it just all depends on what you want.
Yeah. So what are you going to do with the money?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you don't, not to, you know, get into people's trigger points here, but if you don't know what to do with the money, like asking for more money just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
There's the way the U.S. economy is structured is that they keep pumping money into the currency. So anytime you buy anything else, you're shorting that currency. So if I give U.S. dollars for a stock, I am short US dollars, and I want that stock because I think that stock is going to do better. So if they give you $2 million and you don't know how to grow that money at the rate that it needs to grow, what are we doing here?
Right.
Like it needs to be in the hands of that record label, which is the hedge fund, and they are saying, hey, we're going to help you. Now, obviously, you look at the track record.
Right.
Like track record of not just their stars, of what's the average of all these artists that are on this roster, so that I can see, hey, I've done this work now, and it is structured a little bit differently these days, where obviously they're not really bringing up artists as much in terms of like helping them artist development. But what's the average? What's the mean result of all these artists that are on here? And therefore, I can see, is this going to be, beneficial? Is this a partnership, or is this more like they hijacked me and they now own everything? And because sometimes that does happen.
Yeah,
sometimes it does happen. I'm not saying it
does.
happens all the time. Like people, once you're 18 under the law, you know what you signed.
Yeah, I mean,
under the law's eyes, you know what you signed.
I got you. Yeah, but a lot of that is already written into the original contract anyway, So I know it's tough, especially if you're young, like you're 18, 19, 20.
Yeah, specifically that.
And you got to get the attorney. The attorney isn't going to explain it to you because they know you're not ready for this type of conversation. And the attorney only gets paid if they do this deal. You know what I mean? So they're going to tell you a little bit. They're going to say, I got it good for you. You just make sure you do what you need to do. And let's keep it moving. I mean, I get it, but you kind of got to, it's already written into the contract what they're going to do. You know what I mean? And like I say, it's your mindset. If you take that money up front, just understand it's not going to be yours, but look at all of the other stuff you get, which many artists don't understand, that they get access to attention, which is the ultimate thing we're selling.
They have to keep, I agree with you. It's just why we're educating them about what do you do when you get the attention? What do you do when you get the money? That is more so their responsibility than the labels.
And I do want to say that when they advance you, that's not the recording budget that you're getting in your pocket. That's your advance on what they estimate that you're going to sell. So they gave you the money already.
No, you're right. I'm saying in terms of their structure, if they had a partnership with you of teaching you, I say all the time on my channel, really the only thing that you own, even in my business, I own the emails that are in my email list. Not even like MailChimp. We use MailChimp, right? We don't really own our account there. They're a private company. If they boot us off, we can take the emails that are on there and go somewhere else. This happens to websites all the time. Not all the time, but it does happen in very sketchy situations, which we talked about. And then I own the files that are on the website. Just because I'm hosted somewhere does not mean I own my website.
Right.
This is real life stuff. People might cheer if it happens to somebody else, but then you better be looking to see that, okay, just have a bigger picture, no matter where you are, on a political or social spectrum. Just see a bigger picture of, if this happens to somebody else, this can potentially happen to me. And we do ads management for hundreds of different people. We've seen a lot of stuff. That's why ownership, which we're talking about, of even like the granular details of, all right, how can I protect myself by setting up this company? Because if they change all the laws, then that changes for everybody, right? So now we're playing this big game, big business game, big political game, all of it. Not the most fun thing for artists. So who's going to play that game for you?
Right.
Like, do you trust this label? If you don't trust them, how are you going to protect yourself? That's really what we're going over here.
Yeah.
So in terms of even like that topic and setting up the future of the industry, how's all that going to work together in your eyes? And I definitely, people have heard my thoughts on it, but how is all that going to work together with Web3, with NFTs, with smart contracts, social tokens. How is that, like, how do you see that all coming together?
Yeah, I see it. Well, from what I've seen already, and I've been on this for a minute, probably since 2017, because I had these contracts drawn out in pictures. I was like, this is how contracts should look. I know this stuff is confusing to artists, and nobody wants to read this law. The law is like this thick.
Yeah.
Just the copyrights. It's like, oh my God, you know what I mean? And just reading it is confusing. So how do we go from, this is before I got on, well, we're talking about smart contracts. Before I got to the smart contract phase of everything, it was, how do I turn this into pictures so that we can see it on a dashboard? Every time we log in, we should be able to see, you know what I mean, how much revenue was made, who owns what, you know, if there was some debt involved, you know, what's the recoupment. And we can see bits and pieces of this coming in through companies like DistroKid, allowing us to do the splits function on there. You know, for those of you all who are more, you know, in tune to Web3, you've seen stuff like Royal.io, you've seen Republic, you've seen the security NFTs coming in, and these are based on these smart contracts. What we didn't change was the law, but it's the ability to have this enacted digitally to function where we take the trust out of someone reading the contract and redlining it, and we build it. You know what I mean?
What's a security NFT for those that don't?
So the security NFT is approved by the Security and Exchange Commission so that it will be a viable investment, so that the investor can bet that they will make at least the money back, which is what happened in the Little Pump deal. Like, I did a breakdown of it on my channel, and I said in about 3 years, all the investors can make their money back, no matter what you invested in. And it's very hard to get that because that's something new for NFTs and for assets like copyrights, which is what it was. It was on the musical work asset and the sound recording asset. That's what the NFT was for, right? And of course, you know, the public version, you get a little, you know, picture to go with it saying that you own this portion. But the Security and Exchange Commission, and I know it's a little advanced for some of the artists who may be listening, but the Securities and Exchange Commission has to approve that investment, right? To get people to invest so that they can invest that way. This process is a little long, but I can see that at the rate things are moving with smart contracts, you won't always have people who care about that. You know what I mean? That's only if you take this investment public, which is what it was. But if you're, you know, behind the scenes, let's say you and I, we want to invest $100,000 into some venture, you know, we do the contract, the smart contract, and the money, the transactions come in, you know, it splits out how it's supposed to split out. And then we take the trust factor out of, hey, we got to sit with this lawyer, we got to sit with this, yada, yada, something go right. You know what I mean? So that's where I see it going with Web3 so far. And of course, I know that there are things out there as far as tokens and things like that. But, you know, I'm learning a little bit about that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the security, all right, so a security, just for, it's an investment with an expectation of profit. That's what you can boil down a security to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
With a lot of these things in Web3, there's not clear laws on them because there are legitimately, it's a gray asset. So it could be like a social token, which is, it's a currency that is actually used for, it could be you sell show tickets in it, you sell merch in it. People are paying you in this currency for this product. So the primary purpose of it is not necessarily the expectation of profit with those. So this, look, we're not giving out financial advice, not giving out legal advice on this. Consult your financial advisor, fiduciary for all your financial needs and responsibilities. Disclaimer. But for the NFTs where people are, you know, selling their music royalties and things like that, essentially it's more of a be careful, right? So if you have a track record of success, and the SEC could make an argument that this would be an expectation of profit on these, by all means, do your own research, DYOR. for a lot of new artists where the argument would more so be on the line of, there wasn't necessarily an expectation of profit here. Like this was used as a currency. This was used as tickets. This was used as, this was tied in with my social token. They bought this with my social token. Then there is a gray area in it all. I know this because I have, like, in doing my taxes for the last year, there is no clear documentation on social tokens, and we have been big pushers of social tokens on our channel. So in the letter of the law with this, they'll come in and, in my eyes, screw it up. But they'll come in and give hard and fast laws eventually, as it's bigger. But it's a very interesting time in the industry. You're saying as far as smart contracts, this should be like easily accessible. It should be in a picture online, essentially. Are you saying that in terms of in a way for people to read?
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, so say if we do an NFT together, and that's what, and look, for the audience, I'm not well versed on NFTs, but I'm in the smart contract. So I know that they play hand in hand together, and you need that to make that work. So however advanced you want to make it, you know what I mean? When that sale happens, that's the beauty of having it there. Relationships come and go. You know what I mean? And when you have that in place, it definitely helps the process. It helps when I can just open up my phone on the app and see what's going on. You know what I mean? For the average person who's not going to get involved with it, because there are a lot of people just make money. They don't pay taxes. They don't care about the growth. They care about the creative. So I feel that it should be that way. And correct me if I'm wrong, if you've seen some sources out there that can play to this, that have, you know what I mean, allowed you to witness what's going on a dashboard.
You're saying in terms of
the contract itself.
The contract itself. I'll say they switched it into white papers.
Okay.
So whenever, token projects come out, there's usually, it's called just a white paper. It would be like a wiki link or something like that, where it's broken down, where it's more consumable for the average person to like read through it. If they have a specific question, they just type it into the box. They ask that specific question. And it's a lot easier to go through than just one single PDF of 50 pages or 100 pages. It's going through all this legalese, and it's a lot more consumable than the contracts of the past. So they switched it from those contracts, and it is like they'll tell you what the smart contract is about, but it'll be in the form of a white paper, a wiki document.
Okay.
But as for like the NFTs, I want to say it a bit more clearly for people too. Expectation of profit. If you launch a brand spanking new song, and you couldn't make an argument that there's XYZ expectation of profit, a little bit safer as well. So for brand new songs versus established songs, I have a little bit more of a gray area there, because I do think that's very useful for artists in terms of the future of the music industry. We talked about record labels, and with the new music industry, a record label, if you break it down, yes, there's all the resources, but the technology is now replacing a lot of this. So when you have the smart contract, you don't necessarily need the lawyer as much because the contract's already written.
Right.
Like, what's the lawyer going to come in and do? They're not going to rewrite it because it's already set in stone with the technology. All this is software, guys. We're just talking about software programs that once you push a button, if somebody tries to go mess with it, it alerts everybody else who's in the network, essentially. So if somebody, like Bitcoin, we've all heard about Bitcoin. Somebody tries to go mess with it, there's a bunch of decentralized nodes, computers, people behind it that are saying, somebody tried to go mess with this, we're not going to verify the next transaction that comes up. So whenever you have these smart contracts and this technology in there, when people are trying to read it, or this lawyer's trying to bill you for XYZ time, well, it's already in there. Like you're taking out a lot of the occupations that people had, and they need to find a workaround of that, or they can work in the company that's making the smart contract and all that stuff. But as far as the funding and you running the label, I believe it makes it a lot easier to run the label yourself.
I agree,
because you're now you're going straight to the funding. You can. People say it's funding from your fans, but to be honest, it's going to be at least half, if not more, from investors and people with money. Seeing this firsthand, the average everyday person is going to put in maybe $100, maybe every 6 months or something, something like that. Your investors are going to be putting in $3K, $5K, $10K, $100K, $1 million per trade, to where you're not necessarily owned by them. This is a public good, so to speak.
Yeah.
But you do get to use that money how you see fit in growing your business. You essentially turn into your own hedge fund.
Right.
Like this is making a bunch of little hedge funds out there, and it's grouped together into one bigger one, which would be for a lot of NFTs, they sell in Ethereum. So think of Ethereum as this big hedge fund with all these little hedge funds out there. And then for some of these websites, which we're going into, Rally.io would be a hedge fund under a hedge fund making little hedge funds. But I don't want people to think of that as multi-level marketing. It really is that the average everyday person is not going to go make their own token and make sure people can buy it with a credit card or debit card. You're talking about leaving money on the table. If you make it harder for people to buy something, you're leaving money on the table. Same concept, same broad concept. So it's a company that is making it easier for people to make their own tokens, make their NFTs in a way that's consumable, and that people like the average everyday person can go buy. And it's set up in a way that is a bit more, has more protections than some other markets for the average everyday person. So even going into, we talked about World.io, for people who don't know what that is, it's essentially a website that artists will go on and sell some of their song royalties to the public. It could be like 25% of the royalties for a song that they break down into 3 different tiers, and it'll be a bronze NFT level that may have like 200 copies in it. It might be a silver one that has like 50 copies, and then a gold one that has like 10 copies in it. And each tier will progressively have more percentage that you own per NFT of the song. They're raising this money from the public, and then any secondary sales of the NFT you also get paid on. So they can set it that if you sell your NFT to somebody else, one, is way easier with NFTs to sell your rights to somebody else. You just sell it on a marketplace rather than hiring these lawyers and doing all this other stuff to sell it. Just sell it right then and there to the next person. And also, you can get like whatever percentage you said, 5%, 10%, so on and so forth of that secondary sale. You do get another royalty. We've just introduced another royalty into this picture of secondary NFT sales or social token sales.
That's my concern. Like when people sell, like what does that look like? You know what I mean? And I'm talking because we haven't really seen this on a large scale yet.
For NFTs or for social tokens?
No, I mean for at least for me, because I'm not really in the space like that. So for the token itself or for the NFT where we use it as people resell it. How does that breakdown look, man?
It's pretty clean in the smart contract. So it's with the NFT, it's a non-fungible token, meaning I have 1,000 copies of this, and each one is not like the other. So they're not like kind. Like the gold one is different than the silver one, and there's only 10 of this one. And if I own the 247th copy, it's not the 248th. So the 248th might sell for a different amount than whatever I put mine up for. Whereas if I have a stock or a fungible token like Bitcoin, then I'm looking at an order book of here's what people are willing to sell it for. An order book is just something that like it'll list everything that's for sale, list all the buyers and the price they want to buy it at, and then in between the sell and the buy is the market price. All right. So with an NFT, you're not really getting as many buyers with the NFT because there's so limited a copy. Like there might only be 250 NFTs in a collection, whereas a stock or a coin or token is going to have like millions of shares or coins or tokens. So how it works is that there does need to be a buyer on the other end of it. So you have to have demand. Just like with a stock, you still have to have demand of something. Somebody has to want to buy it. So if you have these song royalties that you want to sell with this NFT collection and you don't know how to market anything, then it's like why would anybody buy it? You have to be able to sell it. But after that, it's built into the smart contract where when I buy this, it automatically goes to the original contract creator. That 5% or 10%, whatever you set that as, just goes straight to you. And then the 95% goes to whoever sold it. So pretty clean, to be honest with you. The social tokens are. This is why I'm a proponent of people going to a company to launch their social token. It does have some downsides. The centralization, which I'll go into in a second, is a little bit of a downside. But whenever you sell the social token, at least on Rally.io, like we have Omari coin, and Omari, people can buy our services through the coin. But let's say they want to just sell some instead of holding on to it. They just convert it back to Rally, which is the base currency of the website, and we get the fee. Like whenever you buy an options contract or you buy a futures contract or some instrument out there, the exchange gets a fee. Like they just charge you a little bit whenever you buy one or sell one. That fee on Rally.io goes to the creator of the coin, whoever the influencer is behind that. So let's say Casey has Music Money Makeover coin. Hint, hint, hint. And Casey sets this up and he's like, all right, guys, my merch, some of my courses are available for sale in the MMM coin. That whenever people sell that, you get the fee of them selling it. So volume is good, meaning if people are on there just speculating, I don't really care that they're speculating because I'm getting this feedback. Now, obviously, it's good if they hold it too because that's helping the supporters of my currency. Also, with it, there's a built-in dividend structure. So every week, I'm bringing more people to buy my coin, and they're using it, they're exchanging with it. Some people are now speculating on it because they see that it's a good currency, and they're holding some. You get more weekly dividends. They're called rewards, but they act like dividends. So they go straight into your account. Everybody who holds some of your coin actually gets these dividends. So that's why more people would want to hold it versus selling it if it's a good one. So that turns you into your own hedge fund. Now, when we get into breaking down, like leaving money on the table, now you take all that money that you've now accumulated, you can put it into your hedge fund structure to where I'm not one of the guys that's like you put 100% of all your money into one company. But let's say you have like a significant portion in yourself. Like, yes, you should believe in yourself more than me personally. I believe in my abilities more than just leaving all my money to a 401k or to something like that. So whenever you control your company, like you control how the coin's used and the prices for it and everything, you can grow it at a different rate than Amazon can grow theirs. Like when people leave money with Amazon, they're just saying, I think Amazon's better at growing my money than I am. Which is very true for a lot of different situations, but that's what Rally is. It's taking the token, a social token. It can now be used as a currency, It could even be, we talked about people selling their song royalties. It could be selling a YouTube royalty. It can be doing anything. It's just distributing it to the market. Now, where that blurry line comes in was what expectation of profit was there? Was there expectation of profit?
Right.
Is it tied in with the social token to where it's actually used as a currency rather than just solely expectation of profit? So right now, legally speaking, the social token is not a security.
Yeah.
It is, under the Howey test, it functions more as a currency than a security.
Yeah.
So if people are familiar with the lawsuit with Ripple, they were trying to say that Ripple is just a security, and you guys are launching it as this coin, but you got to come through us now and go through our paperwork and our procedure, and pay us, whatever lost fees and all that. So
this is going to make it a lot longer process when you're just going through those checks and balances, man.
I believe that whenever this is the currency, there's a reason that Bitcoin is not a security, though, because it functions as a currency. For a personal experience, setting up the social token was not a super long experience. It was pretty easy on Rally.io, and even like doing the NFTs, they're pretty easy on there. The only way that it gets to be a headache is if the government comes in and screws it up.
Yeah.
So they have a decent track record of doing that, but we'll see. It'll definitely get interesting in the future. But I wouldn't shy away from doing this because of any of that. I would definitely do it. Maybe you set aside some money for taxes. Don't go blow all your money, and like once you get it in, like don't just go spend it all.
Right.
Even for people new to business, like you don't just go spend all your profit. You set aside some for taxes. If you're setting it up yourself, set aside at least a quarter of all the money that comes in. If you have a CPA, typically they're good enough in getting it down to some percentage. Like I said, I'm not a financial advisor or tax expert or anything. So, but typically they're better about helping you find a better percentage. That's the tax code is essentially there to help you help the government.
Right.
Is what it's saying.
Right.
A lot of people don't see it that way.
Yeah, but that's what it is. Though.
Yes, it's help the government. The less burden you put on the government, the more breaks you should get, because you're giving people jobs or helping them feed their family. You're helping do all these things for society that makes the burden on the government less. So that's why they give you incentives. This is just a code of tax breaks that when you work with them, they'll work with you.
Yeah.
That's all it is. So yeah, man, it's been jam-packed today.
Yeah. We went over a lot of heavy stuff, man. This is really gonna, when people come back and they see this, like they're gonna see it the first time. But then I think 12 months is gonna pass and they're gonna come back and look at this and say, oh, that's what they were talking about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So you guys absolutely go subscribe to, whether you're watching this on Amari channel, Music Money Makeover channel. Go subscribe to Music Money Makeover show if you're not subscribed already. Head over to musicmoneymakeover.com. Any other place you want the people to go?
Music Money Makeover show on TikTok. I just launched that, so we got to get that growing. But yeah.
All right. Music Money Makeover show, TikTok. And obviously you guys can follow all of our stuff. Links in the description. Head to socialtokennews.io. Whatever channel you're watching this on as well, you guys can check that out. But yeah, go grab all the stuff from Casey, grab all the stuff from us, and we will catch you guys in the next one.
Yeah. Later.
Thanks for watching this full-length interview, everybody. If you made it this far, I really appreciate the support and the love. If you need more information, you can always visit musicmoneymakeover.com down below and just grab any of the stuff in the description down below. All right, there's more things coming from musicmoneymakeover.com, so stick and stay tuned for it. Always remember, if you make music, you should make money. I'll see you next time. Peace.